My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people.
All right, we are back with another show here, and today I have super cool dude, Marc Zalmanoff. Yes, and he and I met, so we officially met at the it wasn't the Badass Business Summit, but the Champions Circle or whatever it was. That
yes,
was
sir.
Like this last summer, and come to find out we had some history from same organizations, but prior to that. And so we had a really awesome conversation, and we've run into each other a few times. And then, of course, you're here at the Badass Business Summit, which we've been blessed to get to use this room and record stuff with super cool equipment and all this kind of fun stuff. Cool. It's pretty cool, right? Because I'm used to doing these kind of shows all virtually. So I have my camera and my webcam and the green screen with the big purple background and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of weird to not have a big purple background on. So, but we have this room here, and you are the MC for the show.
I am the MC.
A lot of fun. You having a fun time with that?
You know, I tell people all the time, I love to run my mouth. I coach for a living, so
it's a perfect job for you.
I'm literally in front of an audience almost every day of the week.
Right.
So to me, it's very natural. Yeah, right. I know like people fear public speaking, and I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. Even back in I was in theater in high school.
Okay.
Shocking, right? Yeah. Because I sucked at sports. So I was like, well, I want to do something. So
Which is so funny because you're a fitness guy now.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
I'm good at working out. I'm not good at sports.
Okay. Makes me feel better.
But I wanted to do something. I wanted to be a part of something. I always enjoyed that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Sherman, Texas, so it was a relatively small school. Like my graduating class was like 282, something like that.
I think I got you beat. I think we had like 80.
Yeah, but I mean, you grew up in the cornfield, so. But. You know, even then, I really didn't ever have that fear of getting in front of people and talking.
Okay. Yeah.
And so over the years, I've just kind of honed that skill. And I was blessed that, you know, Donnie asked me to be the MC of this event, which is super fun. They'll give me a microphone and a long leash and see what happens. So, yeah, it's a
couple of times where you sit there going, okay, maybe we should shorten that leash a little bit. I heard the joke that you kicked off the day with this morning. That was funny. So, yeah, I want to go into that, but let's go ahead and start by letting people know who are you and what do you do? So
yeah.
Get a feel for who Marc is.
So, I'm a coach.
Okay.
I'm a speaker.
Okay.
I'm an author.
Yeah.
I'm a father. I'm a husband.
Okay.
I love having fun.
Yes.
I love making good choices. I love being joyful. Yeah, I've been a fitness professional for 22, 23 years.
Okay.
I have a brick and mortar gym. But what I've really learned over time is people are people and they have people problems. Mm-hmm. And the things that people come to me with in the gym, most of the time have nothing to do with the gym. It becomes the catalyst for change.
Right.
They want weight loss, but they don't want the weight loss. They want what the weight loss will provide them.
Right.
They don't really care how strong they are, but they want what the strength will provide them. They don't care about their cardiovascular endurance or how quick they can run a mile. Nobody really cares about any of that. What they want is what that affords them to do in life.
Yeah.
And,
I get that.
And that's across the board in business and life and relationships. It's the same thing. Like most of the time we don't want the thing. We want the thing behind the thing.
Right.
And oftentimes we want the thing behind the thing behind the thing. And I'll give you an example. You ever heard I'm sure you've heard this before. Like nobody wants a drill.
Yeah.
They want the hole in the wall.
Right.
Right. But you don't want a hole in the wall.
You want to hang your picture.
You want to hang your picture, but you don't want to hang your picture.
Okay.
You want the picture on the wall. So when your wife walks in, she's reminded of this beautiful family that you have or this memory that you created. Okay. And then there's this feeling that's associated with it. That's what you want. And I think if people would just be willing to dig a little deeper and go to that next step and that next step,
right?
They're like, oh, that's what I really want. And that's really hard for people. I think that's one of the hardest questions for anybody to answer is what do you want?
Right. I mean, people can't decide what they want for dinner. So anything above and beyond that's, fair game for all kinds of weird directions to go. That's really interesting that you bring that up that way because I know so many people that they're in the coaching arena, or they're in that process, and their clients are just trying to figure out what's going on. They don't even know what they're selling to the client. That's one reason why I've kind of stepped away from the coaching world a bit, because that's who my clients used to be for exclusively coaches and speakers. And I stepped away from it because a lot of people are they're not getting into that deep cycle of what is it that you're really after? What's the real solution? As a marketer, I kind of think that way. I want to go that direction, because what is the thing that they really want? Because that's where the emotion comes from.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people don't understand, that is the emotion is where people buy. And so from a marketer standpoint, that's where my brain already goes. But when you're talking about life experience, people don't dig that deep when they really probably should be.
I had this, I learned one thing, and it was really great, but I worked at Bally Total Fitness, which that will age me right there, because that place doesn't exist anymore.
I had a membership there forever ago.
You probably still have it. If it's, even though they're bankrupt and out of business, you probably still have that membership. It was the first fitness job I ever had.
Okay.
So graduated college, got a job there as a personal trainer. The fitness manager there was like your typical sleazy car salesman manager, because that's how they ran their business. Yeah. But the one thing I always remember that he taught me was emotion creates motion. Mm-hmm. So when we can dig in and figure out that those layers of what do you really want? What do you really want? What do you really want? Why are you here? Why is today the day that you decided to walk in the gym because you want to work out? What happened? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, I don't want to say it's traumatic, because it doesn't have to be that serious, but it's a life change. And it could be something like divorce. It could be a health issue that they've experienced. It could be a health issue that somebody in their family, maybe their parent had a heart attack and they're like, oh shit, like I need to do something.
Right.
Otherwise I'm going to end up just like that. But if you can draw emotion out of people in any aspect of life, that's when you can get people to change. And like you said, like most people just aren't willing to go there,
right?
And they'll keep that mask on forever. And that's why it's so hard for anybody to change anything in their life. They're not willing to just dive in and really figure it out.
Right. Well, they're hiding their emotions. A lot of times they're masking them. That's why, you look at like addiction, a lot of times people are on that. They go after the addiction because that's the face value. And that addiction could be as simple as just watching TV.
Like or doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling. Oh, yeah. That's, yeah. It's so funny is that I've stayed away from a lot of that kind of stuff. And then I got on a weird rabbit hole on YouTube and watching the shorts on YouTube specifically. And I found a couple of them that luckily I found some stuff that's more personal development. So at least it's sort of okay for me. But yeah, it's like next thing I know, I'm like, I've watched a half an hour of 1 minute videos, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was not where I was supposed to go with this.
So many people right now. So this is end of September 2024. Mm-hmm. We have an election in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm dreading that.
And so many people shy away from that stuff, and I am so fascinated with all of it right now.
Right.
Like I'll get on. I've never been a Twitter guy. I still call it Twitter. I've never been a Twitter guy. Yeah. I don't really care about that platform. I don't post anything on there. But man, that's where the news is that I've kind of figured out. Like you can actually get some legitimate news.
Right.
And I get on there. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome.
That's funny.
And my wife, who is still, she's not a U.S. citizen. Like she's still officially a snow Mexican. And so she stays blissfully ignorant of a lot of political things because she can't vote anyway. So my vote counts for her.
Right.
So if there's anything important, I'm like, hey, did you know this? Hey, did you know they tried to kill him again? Hey.
Right.
So I kind of keep her up to date on that stuff. But yeah, that's I have to be careful as well of getting like sucked into that.
Yeah.
Because it's entertainment for me. Like I don't really watch TV. Like we don't really go to the movies, have a toddler. So, our schedule's just kind of weird right now.
Right.
But that's absolutely entertainment for me. And I can get down that rabbit hole all day long if I'm not careful.
Yeah. It's funny that because so many of us get into that side of it. And, it's funny you brought up X or Twitter, whichever way you want to call it. I was an early adopter of Twitter, like way, way, way back when. And it was awesome. I loved it because it was 140 characters. It was short, sweet, to the point. So there's no rambling involved. And seriously, I think that the day that they made it longer was when I lost all interest. Because like, okay, no, now you're just rambling. And I lost it. And it's so funny because now I've just kind of started getting back into posting on it. I still haven't even installed the app on my phone. I have, my scheduler that's like, you know what? This connects to Twitter anyway. I might as well go ahead and start using it. And I can do images. I can put my videos out there. Yeah, sure. Eventually I'll install the app and get back to actually looking at it again. But I do know a lot of people have actually gone back to that because it is more news. I don't know what the right term is. Side agnostic to some degree.
It seems to be. But, what I've always found with social media is it's truly what you make it.
Yeah.
I'm really big on Facebook. That's always been my jam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people complain about it because of how toxic it is, which it absolutely can be.
Right, definitely.
But like you have the control. Like you get to decide what you see and what you don't see.
The stuff you click on is what shows you more of it.
Right.
That's what they do. That's how they make money.
But not only that, even your friend circle, or you come to events like this and you're networking and you start adding friends, and you don't really know what people are talking about on there, and you start to see that. Like if I see somebody who is consistently negative in any way, shape, or form, like, or self-deprecating, but not in the funny way, like in a really harmful way, I just hide people.
Yeah.
So like my feed is full of positivity, people doing awesome things, people sharing their journey, their story, the ups and downs. Like that's totally fine. Right. But anything that doesn't align, and not that I'm trying to like just live in this little echo chamber, but if I see things, I'm like, I just don't want to see that. That's not good for my mental health.
Right.
I just hide people. I don't unfriend them because I want them to see my shit.
Oh yeah, you want them to see your stuff. Yeah, I totally get that.
But I just hide them, and that's every platform. You can do that across the board with everything, and tell it what you want it to show you.
Yeah. I think that's a really powerful thing, because a lot of times they go out there and in today's society, so many people are after the trolling side. So they feed off of the negativity. And I've got to the point, especially after the last election, I was like, no, if you're pushing the negative hate stuff and it's on either side of the fence, you're done. And it's unfollow. I unfollowed more people during the last election than I have since I joined social media.
I believe it.
And I mean, it was hundreds and hundreds of them. And I was like, wow, all of a sudden, all the cool people are hanging out, which I love that.
People are crazy, man.
Yeah, people are crazy. So I want to talk about something that I know is that you talk about joy a lot. And that's when I met you. I think, what's the shirt that you had on at that point? It was
Aggressively Joyful.
Aggressively Joyful. That's the one. And I remember seeing that. I was like, that is so awesomely passive aggressive. I love it. So talk about that for a little bit.
So let's first define that, and it's just my own definition.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a difference between happiness and joy.
Okay.
Happiness is a feeling, and it's fleeting.
Okay.
So happiness is like sadness or anger or hunger. Mm-hmm. It comes and goes.
Right.
Somebody can say something or something can happen. I can eat something good. I'm like, oh, that made me happy.
Right. Okay.
Joy, to me, is that deep-seated feeling of contentment and purpose that nothing external is going to take away from me. So I can be joyful and sad at the same time.
Okay.
It's like if something bad happens or my kid's sick or something like that, like I can feel sadness or sorrow or bittersweetness, but I can still have my joy. And I think if people would think about that a little bit more and pursue it, hey, the world needs more joyful people.
Yes.
Hands down.
100%.
Like, and again, tying a lot of it into social media, like the toxicity that people experience on a daily basis is crazy. Mm-hmm. So I have a skill set that I know I can help other people find that joy for them. My joy is different than yours, than his, than anybody else's. Yeah. But when somebody can tap into that, it starts to make them bulletproof because it doesn't matter what you say, and it doesn't matter about traffic or the weather or who's president or any of that stuff, because I'm still content with who I am and what I'm doing in this world, and no one's going to take that away from me. I've heard Gary Vee talk before about, and this is a very stoic philosophy, of envisioning like the worst thing you could possibly imagine.
Right.
So I've heard him say, like, I think about if my wife and kids were murdered, like what would I do? And he's like, I would still have purpose in this world. I would still have joy. Would I be sad? Of course. Would I mourn? Of course. But when you can encapsulate yourself with your own joy, you don't worry that these other things are going to happen and rob you of that. It's not easy.
Right.
Because people be people-y.
Yeah.
We know that, right?
People, I love
and
that.
the world does shit. And you can say whatever you want, but a lot of people are of the thought that the world doesn't want you to be successful. It doesn't want you to be happy. The government sure the hell doesn't want you to be happy. Right? So the more that we can do to strengthen our own personal resolve, to go, you know what, I'm going to focus on what I can control.
Yes.
Which are my thoughts and actions, and that's it. Then I hold the power. Then it's up to me if somebody says something offensive, and that's a whole nother conversation. Like, I think being offended is a choice.
Right. Oh, it definitely is. 100%.
But if somebody says something offensive, I get a decision right then and there. Is there validity in that? And that's why I'm feeling a certain way and feeling emotional about something. Maybe it's something I don't want to face, but deep down in the recesses of my mind, I know there's some partial truth to it. Or is it totally invalid and I can just dismiss it?
Right.
And again, that's a really hard thing to do. And I think it's something that we have to practice over time to be able to have that discernment.
Yeah.
Even just the count to 10 and take a deep breath.
Right.
I think a lot of people would be well served to implement that in their
That
life.
alone. Yeah.
In relationships and business and life and everything that we do.
Definitely. So I love the way you describe all of that, because for me, the first thing that pops into my mind is internal versus external. And like you're talking about joy being an internal creation where, the sadness is an external. It's coming in from something. It's more like active versus passive kind of situation, or active versus reactive, I guess is a better term with it. And I love the way you talk about that, because it is, when you stop and think about it, you do have control a lot of it. And, you brought up, a very, very basic Stoic philosophy, which is focus on the things you can control and ignore the things you can't. And I preach that all the time. I do study Stoicism. I also study Bushido, which is the Code of the Samurai, both very similar philosophies. And that's one of the biggest pieces. And I go through and it's like, okay, what can I control? There's these factors coming in right now, and I can't control those. I have nothing's going to change anything with that. So how am I going to react to those things and try to make good choices by doing that, as the shirt says? But then there are the other things that are internal. It's like, don't internalize those things, come from the other place. So like for me, my internal place goes to my core values, which are treat the world with kindness and respect. That's it. That's I feel like if we just did that.
You know how hard that is for some people to do?
I'm very well of how hard it is for some people to do, because they have no freaking idea how to do it. But it really is such a simple concept. And so everything I do, doesn't matter what the situation is, I always stop and I'm like, okay, how can I keep those two in line? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, maybe I need to back off a little bit. Maybe I need to stop and rethink that. Maybe I need to just step away. And I feel a whole lot better when I do it.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. The make good choices thing, I've said that for years to my clients when they leave the gym, and, with the hopes of it seeping into their subconscious,
right,
where all their decisions are based on that. We're so concerned about the outcome and this long-term, whatever it may be. If we just focus on the next decision and truly making a good choice, our path would be much more in line with where we actually want to go. Nutrition, to me, everything fitness and nutrition is a metaphor for life. So when people are like, what do I need to eat? How do I lose weight? All these things. Like, okay, well, what's your next meal? Like, you don't need a meal plan, and we don't need to map out your macros. We can do all that stuff. What are you eating for lunch today? Yeah. And is that going to get you further away from your goal or closer to your goal?
Yeah.
There's only two ways that goes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, your plate may not be the same as mine, but there's only two answers to that.
Yeah.
If we
I saw you eating the sliders yesterday.
They were fucking delicious, man. I need protein in my diet.
They were pretty good.
They were good. But just that thought process of what's the next decision I'm making, and is it a good one?
Right.
And we're not always going to get it right. Like we're always going to fuck things up.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But if we're right 80% of the time, 85%, 90%, we're probably going to live a pretty good life.
You know, it's so funny because I think I shared a little bit about this when you and I first met. That because I've been here in DFW for less than 2 years now. When I first moved here, I was rebuilding my entire life from scratch. And one of the things that I did was I'm like, okay, I'm going to start working out, which I've never really been consistent any remotely close since I started. And that's when I started it. And I've been that way. And it's funny because I'll go through and I'll beat myself up because I only worked out 4 days this week when I've been doing consistently, 6 to 7 days a week. And then I'm like, okay, yes, I need to do better. But 2 years ago, I was working out like once a month, maybe. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we're making the good choices. By the way, just a little side note, I love that you have this make good choices because I actually do have a shirt that says I make bad choices. I got it at a Renaissance fair, and it was just so appropriate. It was hilarious. So I'll have to wear that one of these days for you. We'll have to wear both of them. And just see what people say.
For sure.
But it's one of those things. It's like, okay, if you can do better than you did yesterday and know you will screw it up from time to time, that's fine. Just don't make it a habit to screw it up all the time. Yeah. It's not really that hard.
Progress is progress.
Exactly. Yeah.
And instead of, like you said, beating yourself up over because you're not doing all this week, it's still 1,000 times more than you were doing before.
Right.
You've instilled the habit. You're being consistent. Like for me, with fitness, anybody 4 times a week or more, that's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And just look around at society.
Yeah.
And we know most people are not working out ever,
right.
Which just baffles my mind. But we have to learn to give ourselves the grace that we usually give other people. Like most people that I know are really forgiving and accepting of other people in their actions, behavior, sometimes to a fault, but then we don't do it to ourselves.
Right.
We're the first one to go, oh man, I didn't do that. I didn't make that call. I didn't send the email. I didn't go work out. I ate like shit and just beat ourselves up about it and go, wait a minute. But I did a whole bunch of things right. But we get so fixated on what we didn't do for whatever reason. I don't really even know why we do that.
Right.
Like we should be programmed to celebrate the wins and celebrate the things we're doing and learn from our mistakes, but not dwell on them.
Yeah. So that brings something that's actually come up several times in the last probably 2 weeks for me. I don't know the exact words, but do you know the quote from Bruce Lee about words? Mm-mm. Words. Words are spells, and it's like that's why they call it spelling.
Oh, I think I have seen
words
that.
Words are magical, and that's good or bad. So what you say to yourself, the words that come out of your mouth, the things you think, become reality, become magic. And I've always been a big fan of that. I've always believed in that. But it's funny because it's come up in a couple conversations just in the last couple of weeks. It's like you've got to watch the words that you say, especially to yourself.
Well, nobody talks to you more than you talk to you.
Yeah. Sometimes I have the best conversations that way, but
me, myself, and I have a good time for sure. I've worked with a lot of people over the years on I am statements, which I'm sure you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I tell people, and I call this the OJ theory. So the OJ theory is you lie to yourself long enough until you believe it's the truth.
Okay.
Right.
I like it. I
really think he thinks he didn't kill those people.
Right.
Anyway. But if you continue to tell yourself, I'm a fit person. Right. I'm a healthy person. I'm a positive person. Whether you are or not doesn't matter in that moment. Mm-hmm. You start telling yourself that every single day, day in and day out. You look in the mirror and you look yourself eye to eye and you tell yourself, at some point, you start believing it. And when you start to believe it, you start to embody it. Again, in the fitness realm, it's really hard for people to change long term. And when I can get them to flip that switch and go, no, I am a fit person. I'm not trying to be fit. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to get to the gym. I am this person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then they start to embody those habits consistently and stop reverting back to those bad behaviors.
Right.
But you have to start with that internal dialogue.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to the whole act as if. So if you act as if you are that fit person, you act as if you are that successful business owner, whatever that thing is, the acting of it as if it's not fake it till you make it. That's where people, I think, go wrong, is because they think of that, and that just gives them an excuse to write a blank check to lie to people, which drives me nuts. But the act as if is like, okay, act as if I already have this success, or I have this, I am this perfect weight, or whatever the thing is, because when you start doing that and you're conscious about it, you will start making the right choices. You will have the right conversations. You will make the business decisions that are, in the right direction of what's going to get you closer to that goal you're after. And I think it has a lot to do with the act as if is those words. It's just like the I am statements, and putting that in place. And you're programming yourself. We're always getting programmed, whether it's by us or media. It's
somebody's doing it.
Yeah, or your family.
Yep.
And a lot of people, they have to go back and break that, depending on where they came from. And I know that's hard for a lot of people, but once you do and you get into the process of that, I have a friend who bugs me because anytime I say anything in a negative standpoint, she calls me out on it, 100%. And it was hilarious because I was in the funk one time, and she and I were talking. She's like, "You got to quit that." And I'm like, "Okay, let me pause you for 1 second there, and I'm going to tell you, thank you for calling me out. You are always welcome to call me out on my crap. So just keep doing it. Whether I say anything, even if I grumble at you, you have 100% permission to not stop doing that. Please continue." Can I continue with the beating?
Yeah. That's good. We got to have people like that in our life for sure.
We really do, definitely. So I want to back up a little bit because you brought up something at the very beginning. I'd love to just hear a little bit of the story on this. You started off as a theater kid and then got into fitness. How did that come to be?
So, theater was really just something to do in high school.
Okay.
I went to college to be a chiropractor. That was my original goal.
Okay.
And I got to organic chemistry, and I had no idea what was happening. And I had all this science credit already. Like
Right.
I was deep into college at that point. And so I changed my major to kinesiology. I had always kind of worked out. Like, again, I wasn't good at sports, but I kept in shape.
Okay.
My friends and I, when we got to college, I gained the freshman 15 of muscle. We played flag football, we played racquetball, we lifted weights, we ate all the food. Like we did, we just had a great time.
Right.
So with what I had credit-wise at that point in college, I changed my major to kinesiology. I had a friend at the time who was already a personal trainer.
Right.
I was like, well, that seems fun. I really didn't. I didn't have anything growing up where I was like, I want to be that when I grow up.
All right. Okay.
I just, the old quote from John Lennon of like, I had a teacher ask me what I want to be. He said, I want to be happy.
Right. Okay.
Like I just knew I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something with people. I wanted to do something where I could make an impact, but I didn't know what that was.
Right.
And so I went down this path of fitness, became a personal trainer, and just kind of fell in love with it. The first couple of years were hard, like any other career.
Yeah.
But I really found, at the time, I probably couldn't have even defined it, but I found joy in it 20-something years ago.
Got it. Okay.
And to be able to build the relationships that I would build with clients and see the change. Like, I believe all of us impact people in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
But, like,
100%.
I get to do it up close and personal.
Yeah. Okay.
So to watch these people transform, to watch people start walking in with more confidence, to watch a guy lose 150 pounds, like that's powerful.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I love this.
Right.
Like I love this. Not only, was I making money, but I was making a sizable impact in the lives of actual human beings that I could watch happen and transform.
I love it.
And any time in my career that I've questioned it, that the money's been tight, that I feel like I'm just struggling, because we all have those ups and downs, there's always somebody that either says something or, like I had this lady write this, or she didn't write a review. She sent me this text the other day, like thanking me for the transformation that she's undergone, not necessarily physically, but mentally since she's been training with me. I'm like, that's why I'm supposed to be doing this still.
Yeah. I love that. And I thank you for sharing that because, like, for me, I know I've ran into that where I had a post that was, your timeline thing on Facebook where it shows up stuff. And I wish I could remember where it came from, like who it was that sent it to me. But I had posted something a couple of years ago about a screenshot. Somebody had sent me, "Thank you so much for everything you do, Eli. I wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for you." And I had shared that like 3-4 years ago, but I was trying to keep them, I wasn't going to say this person said this to me. So I hid that. And I didn't realize who it was, but that popped back on my timeline. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm still doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
We need those reminders, man.
All right. So we're getting close to time here. So I got a couple of quick last questions for you. Real quick, one last tip of advice for people.
Do it.
Just do it?
Just do it.
Okay.
Like Nike, just do it. Whatever's in your crazy head right now that you're like, I don't know, just do it.
All right. Awesome. Quick and easy. Second thing, this is the Meet Cool People show. So what do the words meet cool people mean to you?
It means get out of your bubble, go find people who are different than you, and learn something fun about them.
I love it. Awesome. Very cool. How can people get a hold of you?
MarkZFitness.com or Facebook. Like, truly, Facebook's I'm on LinkedIn and all that, but like, just find me on Facebook. Yeah. Shoot me a message. Yeah, I answer everyone to everything. So
go find them on the Book of Faces.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
This is awesome. My pleasure.
And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.